probably are aware from the news over maybe the last couple of years, this issue of how to best relate with folks that maybe have been married, have been divorced, and did not get annulment and are remarried within the church. Did not get a divorce and weren't remarried within the church, how to look at that situation. Obviously, from this gospel, it points out that whoever divorces and marries another commits adultery. And so that's always been an understanding. And until the probably 1960s, the Second Vatican Council, the only way anybody could get an annulment in the Catholic Church, because of the whole sense, legitimate sense, understandable sense of the permanency and sacredness of marriage, the only way you could do that is if their marriage had not been physically consummated. So annulments were very, very rare. There might be some other rare circumstance. At that time, and boy, I guess I'm talking about something can only mention briefly, it can be a whole hour-long teaching, but I know you got to go to work. At that time, there was the realization, looking at the social sciences and everything in a legitimate way, to say there can be situations, maybe the marriage wasn't physically consummated, but there can be marriages that maybe lack something at their essence of what God wants marriage to be, that it wouldn't be fully the marriage God wanted. I suppose a quick example of this, if two 16-year-olds came in and said they wanted to get married, we'd say, we can't marry you, you're too immature. You know, well, people get married in their 20s and 30s, and with hindsight looking back, and I don't mean everybody's somewhat mature, but if there's such a lack of maturity or lack of coming together, or there's the lack of faith in one person or as opposed to the others, trying to live in faith, but the other one isn't. If there's something at the very heart of that relationship where it might be said that in this case, and their particular cases, it isn't a marriage that God wanted because of immaturity, because of dramatic, deep differences that go back to the heart of the marriage. And then the question, I guess, that's come up in the last couple of years is if someone couldn't get an annulment, and that sometimes happens because the marriage was years ago and there aren't witnesses, what do you do? How do you work with this person? On the one hand, hey, they're committing adultery. On the other hand, is there any way prayerfully and with discernment and walking with people to bring them back into communion? That's the issue. You know, and like everything, there's a couple different points of view. Hey, it's adultery, it's adultery. On the other hand, well, yes, if they've repented, if maybe they weren't living in faith then and they are living in faith now, is there a way pastorally to walk with them and allow them to come back to communion, which after all is not just for everybody who's perfect, but communion is because we all fall short in various ways, and we need the Eucharist. So no easy answer there, but the call to be prayerful, the call to both, and this is the tough part, hold true to our values and yet also bring forth the Lord's compassion and mercy. So, as I said, we could spend a lot more time on this, but just to see these issues in every generation, the church tries to look at and says, what's God asking of us? Again, to keep those gospel ideals, and they also include God's mercy and love. Take a moment. God bless you.